So this is the physics section. Let's begin with physics section. All right, so question number 1, a very simple problem. Switch S is closed at t equal to 0. Find the current by the battery just after closing the switch. So as we know that as soon as the switch gets closed and the current wants to increase, the inductor is going to oppose the change in the current. That means it is going to block the current in its own branch. So when the inductor is not allowing the current to flow in its own branch, then simply the current is going to flow from the resistors. So I can simply write V equals to IR, or the current from the battery will be 9 upon 2, and 2 will come in series. So 9 upon 4, which is 2.25 ampere. So my answer is option 1. So as you can see, this is a very simple problem. There is no current in these two branches. The only current that will flow through the resistors. Let's move to the next question. If the de Broglie wavelength of alpha particle and proton are equal, okay, so let's say lambda alpha and lambda proton are equal, then the ratio of their velocities will be how much? So as we know that de Broglie wavelength is given by lambda equals to h upon momentum. So h upon mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle, and h upon mass of proton and velocity of proton. So ratio of their velocities means we need to find the ratio of V alpha and V proton. So V alpha upon V proton will be equal to how much? Mass of proton upon mass of alpha particle. So as we know, alpha particle is helium nucleus 2 4, and proton is just one mass m. So this ratio is nothing but 1 upon 4. So my answer is simple, 1 upon 4. So I can say, like previous question, this question is also marked as an easy one. So far we have covered 2 problems and both would be categorized as easy questions. Let's move to the next one. 2 electrons are fixed at a separation 2d. At middle of these two charges, a proton is free to oscillate. The mass of proton is mp and the charge on the proton is E, which is positive, right? Now the proton is slightly displaced perpendicular to the line joining the charges. Then what is the angular frequency of oscillation? So ये basically it's a problem on SHM. ये SHM का सवाल है और इसमें आपके पास क्या-क्या चीजें हैं? तो आपके पास है एक इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ, एक इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ, और प्रोटॉन जो है वो बिल्कुल बीचों बीच है. प्रोटॉन इज एट द मिडल. So we have D here, this is D here, and if you have a positive charge here, you know that if it is displaced along the perpendicular line, it will perform SHM, right? So let's say it is displaced to a distance x. Okay, this is a positive charge. So what I can write here is that the force acting on this, so this is F, here it will be F, so this is theta, 2F cos theta is going to act as the restoring force, and if it is proportional to x, then it will perform SHM. So I can write F as Ke square upon R square, which is x square plus d square root ka square. So that is x square plus d square. So I can write now 2F cos theta. So 2F cos theta means 2Ke square into cos theta. Cos theta will be x upon r. So x upon x square plus d square power 3 by 2. So I can treat this as mass into acceleration, mass of proton into acceleration. So I can write acceleration would be with a negative sign. Why negative? Because acceleration will be acting opposite of x. So acceleration direction is opposite of x. So I can simply write this as 2Ke square x upon mass of proton, and denominator, if I know that x is very small as compared to d, So the denominator can simply be written as d cube. And I will read this part as omega square x, right? So this omega square, so that means omega will be equal to under root of uh, k can written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So e square upon 2 pi epsilon naught mp into d cube, right? So that is my angular frequency. So that is my option 1 will be the answer. Yeah. Similarly, the time period could be asked or frequency could be asked. One thing also that you can keep in mind, that if it was a negative charge, then it would have displaced along the charges to perform SHM. For a positive charge, it is displaced perpendicular to them. Okay, so this question would be written as a medium level. I'll not treat them as a hard level because it is generally a standard question to do in SHM. Let's see the next one. So this is straight from the theoretical part of the textbook, you can say. और इसमें this is of the style matrix match, but it is asked in mains paper. So just take a look and try to eliminate the options. So as you can see, B is matching with 3 in all of the options, which is for sure. So that is radioactivity. That is very, very common thing that you will observe here. The second thing that you can see is X-ray. And X-ray, as you know, that it is due to like K alpha and K beta happens due to the inter-electron transition that happens. So A should belong to 1. So it can be either option 1 or option 3. Now look at C, which is radio wave. Radio wave is rapid acceleration, deacceleration. So C should belong to option like 6th, and hence microwave will belong to magnetron. So my answer would be option number 1. So as I can say that you can easily eliminate options and attempt this problem. So this will be treated as an easy question. Answer is option 1. Yeah. So for such questions, make sure that you read through electromagnetic waves chapter properly and remember the usage of various electromagnetic waves. All right, let's see the next one. In X-ray tube, the accelerating voltage is given by 1.24 megavolt. Find the cutoff wavelength, है ना? Cutoff wavelength. So आपको पता है, like you already know that E into V, like the voltage that is given is hc by lambda. So the energy that is there, it is hc by lambda, right? So this can be treated as electron volt. So when the X-ray is operated, the cutoff frequency or the cutoff wavelength is the wavelength at which above which you will see the X-ray X-rays are observed, and below which there are no X-rays observed for this, right? So the lambda minimum, this can be written as E into V. So lambda will be written as hc upon EV. And how do you solve it? hc is 1240 into 10 raised to minus 9 nanometer में जब लिखते हैं. So upon 1.24 mega electron. So this is in electron volt. So this will become 1.24 into 10 raised to 6. So this will come out to be, this is in nanometer. So you can write this as 1240 only. And this is 124 into 10 to the power 4 in nanometers. So this is 10. So answer should be 10 raised to minus 3 nanometers. Option 1 should be the answer. Yeah. So as you can see, this is a very simple formula based problem, which is like the first question that you will study in X-rays at the operating voltage. Let's see the next one. Which of the following curve represent the relation between velocity and displacement of the particle performing a simple harmonic motion? Again, it's directly from your notes. So velocity is given as omega under root of a square minus x square, or v square upon omega square plus x square equals to a square, you know. So you can write it as v square a square omega square and x square upon a square equals to 1. This is an equation of an ellipse. And if you want to draw this, it will be drawn in this manner, that velocity is here, x is here. So it is going to look like this. So this is a omega. At amplitudes, the velocity will become 0. So this is an equation of ellipse. Answer is option 1. So these are like a sure short questions that one can easily score. So we'll mark them as easy as well. Again, we have got A, B, C, D here and different combinations that we'll have to pick up for Bohr atomic model. Let's see one by one. So here we have to keep a few things in mind. Like for Bohr atomic model, this is ZE and this is E. So the force between them is written as K ZE square upon R square, which is equal to mv square by R. And the second equation that happens is mvr equals to nh upon 2 pi. So having said that, we know that speed will come out to be proportional to z upon n, right? And R will come proportional to, so as you can see, mvr equal to nh by 2 pi. So R will be n upon v. So n square upon z. Now you have velocity or the speed proportional. So this is correct. Okay. Now let us try to write the force. So force will be proportional to v square upon r, means force is proportional to z square upon n square into z upon n square, means force is proportional to z cube upon n raised to 4. That means it is also correct. Frequency of oscillation will be proportional to, like, time period is given by 2 pi r by v. So the frequency will be proportional to v by r. And if you do v by r, v upon r, so what you will get is z square upon n cube. So here it is z cube, hence it is not correct. So B is not the answer. And when you talk about kinetic energy is proportional to v square. So kinetic energy will be proportional to z square by n square, which is option D. So basically A, C, D are correct, or I can say option 1 is correct. Like this can be written as a medium level problem because it will require little amount of time to analyze all the 4 options. It might eat up a little more of your time. So you can take a call. Let's see the next problem. A pretty simple problem on errors, as we generally do this in errors. So time period is given as 2 pi under root L by G. Find the error in G where T is 1.95 seconds and length is 1 meter. The least count, that is delta L, is given as 1 millimeter and least count in time is given as 10 milliseconds. What is the percentage error in G? First step should be write G in terms of these. So this will become 4 pi square L upon T square. So from there I can write as delta G by G will be equal to delta L by L plus 2 times delta T by T. Right? Now delta L by L will be 10 raised to minus 3, 1 millimeter upon 1 plus 2 into 10 milliseconds upon time, which is 1.95 seconds. So when we solve this into 100%, because we want it in the percentage, so it will come out to be 1.12%. Little calculation you can say, but a very straightforward problem. So will be treated as easy only. Answer is option 3. So as far what we have covered, we can see that the paper is on the easy to moderate level only. Like, you'll not call this as a paper as a difficult one so far. It is obviously better than shift 1 paper, I would say. Read the given statement. So we have got, now see, they're not asking assertion reason as such, but they're asking the true false statements, you can say, like in earlier days. So a good practice of previous year problems of various kinds will actually help the students here, not just sticking to the 4 options in regular questions. So statement 1 is a transistor can be made by using 2 PN diode connected in series, which is absolutely false. It cannot be made like that. Beta is the ratio of IC by IB, which is true. So my answer is option 2. So like straight textbook questions, or right from the theoretical NCERT textbook, you can say. So this is a very easy problem. Let's move to the next one. Question number 10. We have got a PV diagram. AB is an isothermal process where the temperature is T and pressure is reduced to half, means volume is doubled. Gas is 1 mole. Okay, so number of moles is 1. And coefficient of adiabatic exponent is gamma. All right. Now, B to C, there will be no work done. And C2 is adiabatic process, which is going to be negative work done, because the gas is again, the compression is happening from 2V to V. Right. Now, if the temperature at B is T, then temperature at C, pressure is reduced to half, matlab temperature will also reduce to T by 2, and again the temperature is coming out to be T. So as you can see, the temperature is increasing, that delta U is positive, means work done will be negative. So let us write down work done for each of the processes. Work done from A to B, which is isothermal, is given as nRT ln V2 by V1. So 2V by V. So this will be RT ln 2. Work done B to C will be 0 because isochoric process, and work done from C to A is minus of delta U, which is minus N CV delta T, or this is 1 mole. CV will be R upon gamma minus 1, the negative sign, and delta T. If you see the change in temperature, so the change in temperature is T minus T by 2, which is T by 2. So as you can see, the work done is coming out to be negative RT upon 2 gamma minus 1. So my total work done will be nothing but, I can take RT common. So ln 2 minus 1 upon 2 gamma minus 1. So that is my answer. As even you can figure this out very simply from the given options also, that both the work done will be there for 2 processes. So that will be the particular answer, which is option number 1. So it will require to understand the isothermal and adiabatic processes work done. So we'll not call this as a particularly easy problem, but we can keep it at the medium level, not on such difficult level. So you can call it as a medium level problem. Let's see the next one. A very, very simple problem. I think the entire nation would have done this one. Which of the following represent a traveling wave? So for traveling wave, you know that the function should be like a sine omega t minus kx, or so these two represent the standing wave. So my answer is simply option 1. I can compare it from a sine omega t minus kx, a very standard form of wave equation. So my answer is obviously option 1, and it is one of the easiest problem. Very, very easy problem, you can say. The answer is option 1. Another theoretical question, which is not such expected in physics paper, but always they are welcome because they are short marks. So question number 12, if you see the soft iron, which is ferromagnetic substance, is placed in external uniform magnetic field, then what does happen? So we know that the domain structure changes, right? Because that will increase, and orientation will also change because it will align itself like that, right? So both of them will change, means option 1 is the answer. And I would again categorize as an easy one, not as a difficult, because even if you have not studied this, you can still figure it out very easily. So the answer is option 1. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following transition in hydrogen like atom of the frequency of emitted photon will be maximum? So for energy to be maximum, for the frequency to be maximum, the energy difference should be maximum. So let us first understand what the energy levels are. So this is, the first level is minus 13.6, and then it is minus 13.6 upon n square, which is upon 4. So that is minus 3.4. Then 13.6 upon 9, so minus 1.51. And then comes upon 16, so 0.85. So as you can notice that as you go up, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, the gap between the energy, the levels of energy becomes lesser and lesser. The next would be divided by 25. So that is 0.54 for n equal to 5. So if you want the biggest jump, like, or you can say the biggest energy difference, that will come if you're landing on 1, right? So for example, 5 to 4 will be the least, you can say. Then 4 to 3, even 3 to 2 also. But if you're jumping from 2 to 1, jumping from 2 to 1 will produce the maximum difference in the energy, and hence the frequency will also be maximum, as it is directly proportional. So using that E equals to h nu, if the energy difference is high, the frequency will also be high. So the answer will be option 1, which is from 2 to 1. And you must have seen these kind of questions that are pretty common in previous year problems. So again, we'll mark it as an easy one, not so difficult. Most of the students would have marked it right. All right. So let's take a look at the next problem. Question 14, frequency of oscillation for SHM. So as you know that you must have studied this, that if the block is on the horizontal spring block system or a vertical spring block system, as long as there is a constant force acting on it, the time period will not change for it. So here you can say that, okay, so the mean position will be determined by mg sine theta acting along in the initial compression and extension respectively, but there is no change in the frequencies. So I can simply say that if the block is compressed on one side by x, it will produce an extension on the other side. Means these springs are nothing but in parallel. And if they are in parallel, then I can have my time period as 2 pi under root m by k. So m upon 2k, and hence the frequency will be reciprocal of this, which is 2k by m. So just looking at the values of under the square root, I can simply call out my answer, which is option number 1. So I will treat this as a medium level problem, because most of the students would, um, they might not be so comfortable attempting these kind of problems, but they are actually easier if you remember the basics and the fundamentals. So I would recommend all of the students who are about to give their exams, make sure that you do the previous year problems properly and read through these theoretical things. A question from wave optics. If a light source is emitting light and we change it from violet to red, so we know that lambda v and lambda r, lambda v is less than lambda r. So if I write beta, which is lambda d by d, the fringe width, so beta v will be less than beta r. So the separation between two consecutive fringes will actually increase without any change in the intensity. So intensity में कोई बदलाव नहीं आएगा, and the separation between consecutive fringes is going to increase. So answer is option 1. it should be, answer should be option 1 here. So make sure that the difference between them increases. So we'll treat it as an easy problem again, because you just have to compare the wavelengths. Weight at pole is 49 Newton and the weight at the equator will be how much? So, I mean, looking at the options itself, you can directly say the answer that it will be slightly less than 49 Newton. Why? Because at the equator, it will be G minus omega square R because of the rotation of Earth. And this value is not a very big value to bring a very appreciable change, but it will only bring us very small change. So answer is option 1. Now, some people might get into the calculation part and everything. I mean, like you can get, might waste your time here, but overall it's an easy problem that one can easily figure out the answer. So that was question number 16 for you. Let's see the next one. Question number 17. So this can be treated as like logic gates, or can be treated from the truth table also. Or what you can figure out here is that this is A bar, this is B. So this is A bar plus B and not of that. So A bar plus B and the whole not will be nothing but A dot B bar. So if I want this A dot B bar, that is A and B bar means A dot B bar. So the answer is option number 3. So using this principle from logic gates, we can easily figure out the answer. So keeping them on the easy basket. I hope it is clear to you. Let's move on to the next problem. Again, a very, very standard problem here, because this is something which is definitely done when you study the center of mass problems. So if you have a disk, then you know that mass is distributed over the area, and the area ratio is 4:1. So I can simply say that I can let the total mass be 4m. So the mass that is removed can be treated as minus m. So now I can write down the coordinates. 4m is situated at a comma 0, and minus m is situated at a plus a by 2, 3a by 2, comma 0. So the center of mass will be situated at 4m into a minus 3ma by 2, m1 x1 plus m2 x2 upon 4m minus m, which is 3m. So my answer will come out to be 5/6 into A, which is option number 1. So it's pretty simple, as you can see. So definitely an easy question to do. 5/6 will be the answer. If it was a sphere, then then instead of uh, uh, taking mass along the area, we'll would have taken that as for volume. So it would be 1/8 times. Another theoretical question directly from the NCERT textbook: which of the following is correct for Zener diode? So as you know that Zener works in the reverse bias mode, and reverse bias means depletion layer will be more and it is heavily doped. So simple heavily doped and depletion layer thickness is more. Option number 4 is the right answer. And it is a very, very simple problem. Just by remembering the Zener working, you can simply tick the answer. See, as you notice, if you notice, there are a lot of theoretical questions in the paper, which are there to save your time. So understand that paper is not lengthy at all. Questions like these will require a bit of solving and then getting to the right answers. So let's take a look. Body is projected from origin with a velocity v0. Force is minus alpha x square acting on it. What is the maximum distance from origin will go up to? So the particle has velocity v0, and eventually it comes to a halt. Why is it coming to a halt? Because the acceleration acting on it is in negative, and negative as in alpha x square by mass. So I can write acceleration as minus alpha x square upon mass, and writing acceleration as v dv by dx. So I can have it like this, right? So v dv equals to minus alpha by m x square dx. So if I integrate within limits, so initial velocity was v naught, final is 0. It was from origin to, let's say, distance x. So what I'll get on the left hand side is minus v square by 2, oh, sorry, v naught square by 2, and here what I'll get is minus alpha by m x cube upon 3. So minus minus cancel, x will come out to be 3m v naught square upon 2 alpha, the whole to the power 1 upon 3. So my answer is option number 1. So not such a tricky problem, but not that easy as well. So I would treat it as a medium level problem here. Might require a little more amount of time, and to strike that, okay, acceleration should be written as v dv by dx. This should be written as v dv by dx. So what you can remember is, if the acceleration is given as a function of x, then you can simply recall that, okay, acceleration is v dv upon dx. So this is all about the MCQs. Let's move to the integer type. So numerical attempt, you can say a gas is at RMS speed 200 meter per second at 27 degrees Celsius and 1 atm pressure. If the RMS speed is x upon root 3 when the temperature is 127 and 2 atmospheric pressure. So what you can remember is that VRMS is under root of 3 RT by M, M being the molecular mass. So VRMS is how much? 200. Under root of 3R by M is going to stay like that only. At 27 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Celsius means 273 agar add karte hain. This is 300 Kelvin. You're increasing the temperature by 100, so that becomes 400 Kelvin. So I can write V equals under root of 3R by M, 400, again Kelvin. So you can actually remove this Kelvin sign here. Okay. So V upon 200 will be under root of 4 by 3. So V will be equal to, this is 2. So this is 400 upon root 3. So my answer should be 400. So I can compare this by x upon root 3, and x will come out to be 400. So would treat it as a medium level problem because it will require a little bit of calculation there, but not much. There's no ugly calculation as such in the paper, right? Let's see the next one. In series LCR circuit at resonance, power consumption in the circuit is 16 watt. If the voltage source's frequency 10 raised to 5 radian per second is 120 volt, then what is the resistance of the circuit? So I mean, like, power is V square upon R. So 120 square upon R is 16. So R would be 120 into 120 upon 4 into 4, which means it should be 30 into 30, which is 900 ohms. The answer should be 900 ohms. Yeah, the correction should be made here. It is 900 instead of 800. Let's see the next one. This question would be treated as on the easier side if you want to categorize it. And looking at question number 23, there's a cylindrical wire of radius 0.5 millimeter and conductance is given. So you can recall the formula that J equals to sigma into E, because potential gradient is also given to you. So I can get J from here, and J is nothing but I upon area. So the current flowing will be pi r square into sigma into E. So if I simply substitute the values, right, radius is 0.5 millimeter, so that will be 25, or 0.25 into 10 raised to minus 6. So this is 10 raised to minus 8 into sigma into E. 10 millivolt means 10 raised to minus 2. And the answer is coming out to be in milliamperes. So as you can notice, this is 25 into 5, which is 125. And 10 raised to minus 3 is coming up. So 125 pi, that much milliampere. 125 means x cube is 125. So x will be equal to simply 5. So the value of x is 5. My answer is 5. This can be written as slightly on the difficult side, because to crack conductance, usually people don't, they're not so much in, used to use the term conductance here. So this you can call it as a difficult problem. 24th, on applying force to a rod along its length, the rod gets elongated by this much. Okay. Now, if the length is doubled and the diameter is also doubled, the same force is applied, the rod gets elongated by something else. What is the value of x? Okay. So you can remember it that F is equal to like kx. So that is ay by L delta L. You can start your question from here. Now, delta L will be equal to F L upon ay. This is your delta L, right? So force is same, the length is doubled and area becomes 4 times because the diameter is doubled, right? So delta L dash will be F, length is doubled and area becomes 4 times ay. So that means it is delta L by 2. So it should be 0.02 meters, or the answer is simply 2, because I can write this as 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 meters. So my value of x would be 2. So it's just a matter of taking the ratios and understanding what formulas to use. So let me keep it on the medium level, because people might have wasted a little more amount of time than required. Okay, two cars A and B move towards each other with speed 7.2 kilometer per hour, which is 5 by 18. So this will be 2 meter per second. Source A produces a sound of frequency 676 hertz. So this goes to B and gets reflected back. What is the beat frequency heard? So first, let us find out the frequency that B will hear. That will be 676 into V plus U upon V minus U. And similarly, what A will be hearing again will be 676 V plus U upon V minus U, the whole square. So the beat frequency that will be observed, let me call it beat frequency, so that will be 676. It is obviously more than 676. So V plus U square, V minus U square minus 1, the difference that we have to take. So if you solve this, what we are going to get is 676 A square minus B square. So A plus B into A minus B upon V minus U the whole square. Now, since V is much greater than U, I can say the denominator is V square only. So this is 676 2V into 2U upon V square. So cancel. So this is 4 times U. So 4 into 2 upon 340. So when we calculate this, it comes out to be 8 upon 340, 676 divided by 340, almost 1.98 into 8, which is almost 16 hertz. So you can say the answer will be 16. So we'll treat this as a medium level problem because you'll have to take the reflection like twice. So the square needs to be considered properly, right? I hope it is clear to you. Let's move on to the next problem. Okay, so this is pretty simple. The two objects of mass ratio 1:2 have ratio of kinetic energy as A:1. Their momentums are same. You know? So kinetic energy is written as P square upon 2m. Right? So kinetic energy of A upon kinetic energy of B is A upon 1, and that will be given as mass of B upon mass of A, which is 2 upon 1. So comparing these two, I can simply say that my answer is A equals to 2. It's as simple as that. So this is definitely an easy problem to do, not a tough one. See, such questions are there to save your time because you might need time in other questions, like for example this one. Let's take a look. A rod of length 2.4 meter, mass 6 kg is bent in the form of a regular hexagon. Find the moment of inertia of the hexagon about the axis perpendicular to the plane of the hexagon passing through the center. So what I would suggest is that first form the hexagon. So when you actually form the hexagon, right, what you will see here is, let me just simplify this a little bit. So what you'll see here is that the mass will become 1 kg. So let that mass be 1 kg of one rod. Like there are 6 rods basically, 6 sides. So one of the side will have this will be 1 kg, and the length will be again 1/4. So 1/6. So that is 0.4 meters. Now let us find out for only one of the rods. So for at this point it will be ml square by 12, and if I join this, so this will also be L, and this will be 30 degree. So this is L cos 30, which is L root 3 by 2. So my moment of inertia would be ml square by 12 plus m into square of this. So this is 3 by 4 L square. Now this should be multiplied with 6 because there are 6 of them, right? So 6 times ml square by 12 plus 3 by 4 ml square. So this is 10 by 12 or 60 by 12 means 5 ml square. So 5 into 1 into L square, 0.4, 4 upon 10, 4 upon 10, so 16 upon 100. So answer would be 80 upon 100, which is 0.8. So answer should be 0.8. Yeah. So see, taking mass as 1 kg is actually making things a lot simpler, I would say. But still, I would keep this slightly on the difficult side, because people might have wasted a more amount of time than usual, and they should be clear with the basic trigonometry to take it. Not that lengthy problem, by the way. All right, so let's see the next one. I'm able to find the question 28 questions out of 31. So let be the last one. A point charge Q, which is 12 microcoulomb, is at 6 centimeters from the center of the square of side 12 centimeter. Now, electric flux through the square will be how much? So see, as it is given, if you complete the entire cube, so this charge will be right at the middle of it, right? So if you can imagine it like this, that I have the cube here and the charge is somewhere at the middle. So the total flux from the cube is nothing but Q upon epsilon naught. So if I want to know the flux through only one phase, which is my required flux here, so that will be 1/6 of it, because it is equally distributed. So the answer is going to be Q upon 6 epsilon naught, or I can solve it. So Q is 12 microcoulomb. So this is 12 into 10 raised to minus 6. And epsilon naught means 4 pi into 10 raised to 9. Upon 6. So that will be 8 pi. Sorry, into 9 as well. 9 into 10 raised to 9. So this is going to be 18 into 4 pi into 10 raised to 3 in SI units, which is 72 pi into 10 raised to 3. So this term is my x. So my x is 72 into pi, which will come out to be 226. So that will be the final answer, 226. Now, see, as you know that the questions are memory based, so there could be a chance of error, or the questions might not be exactly the same that was discussed. But yeah, more or less you'll get the gist of it. What I would definitely recommend to all of you is do make sure that you are thorough with the previous year problems, because the questions are very much inspired from those, and understand that similar kind of questions can be expected in the upcoming exams. So thank you from my side. This is all about for physics.